Welcome back. Now, the ghost of corruption has continued to haunt governments and institutions tasked with eliminating the vice despite spirited efforts to slay it. President William Ruto, in his first year in office, vowed to deal ruthlessly with graft, while independent institutions such as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission continued to face hurdles in their quest to net the so-called big fish perceived to be the masterminds of profiteers of graft. As the curtain falls on the year 2023, our reporter Abdiziz Hashim examines the challenges and strides in the war against graft, EACC wins and perspectives from legit pundits as the country struggles to deal with the phantom of graft.
People in our judicial system who are facilitating corruption by working with the corrupt. That is why certain cases go to certain judges, because they are part of the corruption enterprise and the corruption industry in Kenya. And I want to tell you, all these collaborators, we will deal with them firmly and decisively.
President William Ruto set the stage at the start of the year when he vowed to deal firmly with graft. Independent institutions tasked with fighting graft, perhaps taking cue from him, embarked on tracking those looting from public coffers. In a bid to end graft within the public service, the head of public service and the chief of staff, Felix Koskei, embarked on a series of meetings with high-ranking government officials, managing directors, and CEO of state corporation and government agencies. He will also meet security chiefs to warn them against harboring or condoning security officers perpetuating graft.
We don't want to see again this bribery along the roadblocks, nor these policemen in pikipikis.
Inafika wakati tunasema enough, na mumesikia, enough is enough.
To the main road to Nairobi, 3 police roadblocks. Why? Do we need them? Those are toll stations, they are not roadblocks.
It is not lost that shortly after the anti-graft body nabbed traffic police officers along the busy Nakuru-Naivasha highway. The officers were running what appeared to be a well-coordinated graft syndicate, demanding bribes from motorists mainly within the public transport sector. As the EACC dealt with the rogue officers, the government enhanced its system to increase revenue collection following the launch of a uniform pay bill number for all government services. This birthed a central pay point, with all government services being paid through pay bill number 22222. While the executive was implementing changes in various institutions, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission trained its guns on state officers, sitting and former governors linked to graft. Turkana Governor Jeremiah Lumurukai was the first governor on the anti-graft's radar this year. He faced arrest for allegedly providing and possessing a fake degree from Kenya Methodist University. The county boss moved to court and successfully to block his arrest.
Even those institutions that have been harassing governors, but I'm not ready to be harassed. I will not be seeking for hideouts. At the governor na pichano kwa miti, at kwa sababu kuna watu wanakuja kushika. Mimi utanishika kama nakaa kwa kiti.
The matter is still active in court. Former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, alongside his 3 wives, were interrogated at the Integrity Center. Oparanya is accused of alleged procurement of fraud and conflict of interest in the award of tenders by the Kakamega County Government during his tenure. EACC secured court orders to freeze his assets worth 28.9 million Kenya shillings as the probe continues. EACC says 9 former and current governors have already been brought to court on various corruption charges. Some of the county leaders facing various charges include former governors Ferdinand Waititu, Mike Mbuvi Sonko, Evans Kidero, Zachary Okoth Obado, Sospita Ojamongo Deke, Jackson Mandago for the Finland Scholarship Saga, and Mwangi Wairia.
What they did was some of them ended up receiving monies from the suppliers, and that is against the law. Some of them is pure embezzlement of public funds, payments that have been made for goods not supplied, and those cases are actively before court.
The EACC's quarterly report, published in the Kenya Gazette on August 11th, revealed that the Commission had submitted files to the ODPP recommending the prosecution of sitting Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza and former Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu on corruption charges. EACC Chairperson Bishop David Oginde warned former and current senior government officials are using their influence to evade investigations. EACC has been handling at least 43 cases involving former office holders. The Commission's third quarterly report paints a disturbing picture of the extent of graft permeated across all sectors if proved to be true in a court of law. Among those it wants to be investigated by the ODPP are former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, his former Treasury PS Julius Muya, the Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango, alongside 6 others with at least 30 counts of graft-related crimes in the 6 billion shilling Telkom Kenya buyback saga. However, Nyakango has since secured court orders blocking her arrest. The report also indicates former Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala and 12 others are said to be charged with the irregular award of a tender for consultancy services for Ronald Ngala Utalii College construction without a budget. The Commission, which receives an average of over 9,000 cases of alleged corruption annually, says it has managed to recover 23.74 billion from 2018 to 2023. This year alone, the Commission has recovered 10 parcels of land worth 2.4 billion shillings belonging to Moi International Airport, and land forming part of the scenic Charlie Island in Kwale County, worth 1.2 billion shillings, fraudulently hived off, was also recovered. In December 2023, the Commission recovered property worth 410 million Kenya shillings grabbed by a private investor in Kisumu, among others. The legislative arm of the government has also had its fair share of run-ins with EACC and other independent institutions dealing with graft.
We also have MPs who have also embezzled constituency development funds. Their cases are also before court. There are also members of parliament we have of their cases on unethical conduct, issues of forged academic certificates.
EACC queried proposals by legislators to amend sections of the Conflict of Interest Bill to allow public servants to maintain a dual role in public service and private practice and engage in government dealings in the forms of tenders.
In the Conflict of Interest Bill that is going on before the House, there are attempts being made to water it down so that public officers can still trade with government.
EACC also questioned the sincerity of MPs in combating corruption, citing recent bills seeking to water down anti-corruption efforts, such as a bill by Mbere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Roku to amend Section 45(2) of the Anti-Corruption Act by eliminating 2 offences: the failure to follow procurement guidelines and engaging in a public project without prior planning. These provisions currently hold public officials are accountable for safeguarding public funds. Also of concern is Homa Bay Member of Parliament Peter Kaluma's Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Amendment Bill of 2023, proposing to scrap the provision for disqualification of persons convicted of corruption or economic crimes from being elected or appointed as public officers. The bill seeks to allow those convicted elected to office, which goes against the current act contained in the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003.
Since it's a private member's bill, we want to urge parliamentarians to ensure that passing that bill will be reversing the gains that we have made on leadership and integrity, because these people can stay outside until the cases are determined. If they are found to be innocent, then they can come back to work as the law provides. But there is no way you can abuse your office. You have been charged in court, and then you just want to remain again to continue working in that institution.
While some will argue the judiciary is the weakest link in the war on graft, owing to the prolonged cases and injunctions, those in the judiciary are of a different view.
Whether the judiciary is the weakest link in the war against corruption. You see, it's not. It's a question of perception. The judiciary believes in due process.
Legal minds argue that certain provisions in the Constitution, such as Chapter 6 of the Constitution on Leadership and Integrity, are ambiguous.
The legal quagmire that you talk about was brought about by the judiciary themselves. In 2012, when we had cases and they held that you cannot be barred from running for office, for example, because you've got pending criminal cases. That opened the door.
Then number two, what we hope is that because there are many cases touching on leadership and integrity that are before court, we have been waiting and urging, following up with those cases in court so that the judiciary, the judges may make an interpretation on issues of leadership and integrity, what are the thresholds, because by the time the judges are able to make those pronouncements, then EACC and IEBC probably now will have a better chance of barring these candidates.
Further, independent institutions come to a close, with the judiciary calling out the office of the ODPP for allegedly pursuing cases it has no intention to conclude. This followed the acquittal of former Finance Minister Henry Rotich and 9 others after a 5-year legal battle, with the judge faulting the ODPP for allegedly sabotaging its own case.
Officers from the Office of Director of Public Prosecution should be personally held liable for any compensatory damages arising out of suits filed by aggrieved persons against the government. As such, I hereby order that this ruling shall be placed before the Attorney General and the National Council of Administrative Justice with a view of sparking conversation on legal reforms on this issue.
As the curtain closes on 2023, there is reason to celebrate for the small victories. However, pundits say there is still much to be done to stamp out the deep-rooted culture. Abdiaziz Hashim for KBC Channel 1.